Hi, Tamily. Welcome to episode 101 of Ask Tamily. Our guest today is Beth, and her Instagram name is sunshinefit78 underscore Tam. So if you aren't following her, definitely follow her after this interview. She will be connecting with us in just a second. And of course, we do have questions planned for her for today, but we'll also take live questions from the chat. So please type in anything you would like. And we are connecting right now. Hello!
Hi.
Thank you so much for being episode 101.
Like the Dalmatians.
Right. Very memorable Ask Tamily.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us, Beth.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We want to jump right into interviewing you and ask our first and favorite question, which is when and how did you start the Tracey Anderson method?
Oh my goodness. A long time ago. I actually first started her method. I got the book, the 30-day method book that had the little DVD in the back, and read the book cover to cover. I think I had seen her on an interview, maybe. I think it was around the time Gwyneth Paltrow was doing all of that. And so I'm a bookstore nerd. I just like to sit and smell the new books. And I happened to be sitting in an aisle thumbing through a book, and it was on the shelf, and I pulled it out and I bought it and have been hooked ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So what did you do after going through the book? Did you do like metamorphosis and continuity?
I did, actually. I did the 30-day DVD. I did that method. I did it. That was actually kind of difficult. Like that particular DVD, she like does just a few reps and then you do the others on your own. So like I had these giant, I'm a teacher, so I had these giant charts and I'd have the moves written out. And so when I found that there was the metamorphosis, the 90-day, I was like, oh, I just watched her do it. And so, yes, so I completed metamorphosis. I did not do continuity. I don't think I actually even knew about continuity until I was into streaming. But I've basically done every DVD that she's put out. Precision toning, Method Express, the mat workout, all of those. So I just kind of went through all the DVDs and then kind of would rotate. I wasn't really consistent back in the day. A lot of it, I think, was, you have to be self-motivated to do them. And at that time, I had really small kids. And so it was hard to find the time to squeeze it in and all of that, which is one of the things I'm so thankful for streaming, just because it does motivate you. And finding the Tamily was probably the biggest motivator for me, which I didn't even know it was out there. I'd been doing it for years, and it wasn't until the Tamily Friend Challenge 2 years ago in August.
Wow.
I know. And that's when I found streaming and found the Tamily online. And it's just been, it's been amazing. The community.
It makes all the difference. I give so much credit, especially to you doing the workout from that book. Like, there's no way that I could do that. Like, no way.
It was commitment. Like she would model it and do like a few like reps, and then you'd have to do it yourself on the other side.
That is crazy. Thank goodness for streaming.
Yes, amen.
So what made you choose the Tracey Anderson method over other fitness methods?
Probably because I was a dancer.
Okay.
And so it aligned. I don't love exercise. Which is hard to believe because I'm like on day 600 and, whatever. And so, but I love to dance and I love to move and I love that kind of movement. So, I had friends that were runners and I would try to do it just to do things with my friends, like, oh, and I hated it. I hated every minute of it. I hated Zumba. I hated all of them. And I was like, working out is not for me, but I loved to dance. And so when I saw the interview and when I was reading the book and learning that Tracey was a dancer and the science, I guess, behind the method is what really intrigued me. And as a dancer, you know, I already kind of moved my body in that way. And so it just kind of felt right for me. And it didn't feel like exercise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I would never have done any of it ever. But I'm also not a dancer. So we all have different backgrounds.
Right. Yeah.
That's a question for you, which is how did the content in the non-continuity DVDs compare to the online studio? And do you feel like you had a good base for starting the moves in streaming?
Yes. I definitely actually my sister just recently started. I've converted her into the method. But she's not streaming yet. She is starting with the metamorphosis. And you can start in streaming. I don't want to discourage anybody who wants to do streaming because it has so many benefits. But if you struggle, if you try the streaming and the free trial and you struggle with the angles and because it does make a difference. I mean, it makes a huge difference if you're doing it correctly or not. And I think that Metamorphosis and some of the other DVDs early on really help kind of fine tune that if you're not aware, because it is a slower pace. You have different camera angles. Things like that. So I think you could really start wherever, but I do feel like starting and reading the book and just really understanding where she's coming from and why her method is the way that it is. I feel like a lot of times people that just jump in not knowing much about her or her method don't always stick with it because it's not a quick fix. It's not like okay, in 10 days, I'm going to have a new body. It's actually a mindset shift.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I would say.
Another question in the chat for you, which is how many times a week do you do the workout?
Usually 7. I remember when I did the Tamily Friend Challenge, it was for the month of August. So I did every day in August. And then the first day of September, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break. And then I remember sitting on the couch and just being like grumpy because I didn't want to I was like, what? I could be working out and it makes me feel good and it makes me feel better. And so I was like, why am I just taking a break just to take a break? So again, that's like I don't think that's normal. I mean, I think most people do it like 5 or 6 days a week and take a rest day. Recently we sold our house about 6 months ago and moved. And so there have been weeks where I have not been but it's just because of lack of time, not because of lack of desire. And I usually will try to do something, arms or walk or, things like that. That's one of the things that I would say has probably been the most impactful about this method is that she has really taught me that to be the best version of myself, I have to show up for myself in some way each and every day. And that was probably one of the things that hit home the most is that, you gotta take care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And even if it really is just arms or walking or something, like we were made to move every day. Like
Yes.
it really does. It makes such a mental difference too.
It does. I mean, it affects my mood. My husband used to be like, he's like, have you worked out today? No, I haven't.
Right.
It's like, get in there.
So what kind of results have you seen, physical, but also non-physical?
Physical will probably be, that's obviously one of the easiest things to see. I always had a smaller frame, just even growing up, but I'm kind of that I'm abcentric. So for those of you that know, so I gain in the middle, like all around. And so clothes tend to hide it pretty well. I used to say that I was a fluffy small. So because, I might wear a certain size, but it just didn't look the same, underneath the clothes. And so the biggest thing I think is just the toning. I think also the posture. When you do the method, you can't help but to stand and sit taller. It's just a natural occurrence when you do this method, the strengthening of your spine and your back. And so I think physically, you know, my muscles are more toned. Eating is definitely a huge part of your results. You know, and you have to commit. This workout is so different than others in that you're working those smaller muscle groups, and that you're not going to just, you know, be in the gym and bulk up and see it in that aspect necessarily. Right. You know, her design, it might be under there. There are times when, you know, your weight fluctuates or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, Tracey's design is under there. It's just, you know, covered in a layer of, you know, pimento cheese. So that physically, I think just the way that I stand, the way that I carry myself, the toning of all my muscles. Mentally, I'm a different person. I'm calmer. I feel like I know it seems crazy to say that a method helps with all of that, but because of the mental connection that you have to make and tracking her and following along, and you get lost in the movement. That's one of the things I love, is that she doesn't say anything to you. And so a lot of times it helps me process my day. A lot of streamers do it in the morning, but because of my schedule and being a teacher, I have to usually do it after school or in the evening. And it's almost like all the events of the day kind of process through when I'm on the mat. And I usually come out either with solutions or feeling better about something, or, you know, there have been times where I just, like, in the middle of a workout, like, just lose it. You know, something's bothering me. I'm just like, oh, I just feel better after it. So you know, she talks in the method about, you know, it's your mind and your body and your spirit. It's all tied together. And I feel like it really is a release for me in that way. So I think emotionally it keeps me grounded. Intellectually, it keeps me challenged, and physically, it keeps me in the best shape to do what I'm here to do. So,
yeah, those are, like, it's really something that you almost can't get someone to understand until they've been doing the method for a long time, because so many people come to it of, you know, just thinking, like, wanting physical results. And I feel like when we say you get these, like, mental clarity and
yes,
feeling calmer and stuff, I think we sound crazy, but I'm like, literally,
absolutely.
Like, do it for 90 days and you
Yeah.
will feel those results, which are, like, so much even more important than physical results, which, I mean, that's about health too.
Yes.
You know, but the mental is amazing.
I always tease, I say I came for the abs and stayed for the sanity.
Yeah, that is a perfect explanation. Who in the Tamily inspires you?
Oh my gosh, this could take an hour, but like, there are so many. Like, I wish that I'd known they were there before. I would definitely have to say Rebecca. She's like the Tamily cheerleader. I mean, she is forever, like, pushing me, and she's like, you know, what do you think about this move, or what, you know, she totally inspires me. And Emily Hanson, and my Tam twin Megan, whom I've never met actually in person, but she and I, like, we call each other Tam twins. We like the same moves. We kind of connected during that Tamily Friend Challenge as well. Let's see. Oh gosh, there's so many. You have to, Loretta. I mean, oh my gosh. She was probably on Instagram. I was following her, and that's when, and I kept seeing streaming, and I kept seeing all this stuff. I was like, what is this? And so, you know, she's so inspiring. She's just so super. And then there's Miriam, and oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. I know I'm leaving somebody out. Oh, Nikki. Oh, I love Nikki. I got to meet her in New York with Rebecca and Emily. And then I got to meet Suri, and just in the Hamptons crew that, you know, are in the studio out there. They're just to feel their energy is so inspiring. It's just amazing. So
yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, all of them for sure.
Yes.
Many more.
Oh, I know. If I could keep listing them, I mean, I could just go through my feed.
So obviously you've been to a studio, so tell us about that experience.
Yes. Oh my gosh. If you ever get the opportunity to go to a studio, you have to do it. This past fall, I met up with Rebecca and Emily and Nikki and several others in New York and got to go to the 59th Street studio, and then also had the amazing pleasure and opportunity to go and be in the Hamptons studio, which that place is magical. It's just magical. It's amazing. It was such a cool experience. I can't wait. I was hoping to get to go back in May, and then of course all of this craziness in the world happened. But one day I'll be back. So
definitely. What did you think of the heat and humidity? And do you use heat and humidity at home?
I actually do. I actually haven't been using it the last 6 months since we moved. We're in a camper and we're also at my parents'. And so the heat is just, it's not available. So, and I've missed it. I actually do miss it. The heat in the studio is for real. My heat at home was, even though my room was like 90, 92 degrees, the humidity in my room was nothing compared to in the studio at all. But it was doable. I mean, it was very doable. I would seriously suggest, if you're going to a studio and you have not used heat in your room, to at least put a space heater, at least something. I don't know that, I mean, I may have had to exit. And of course, you know, I'm kind of crazy. I took like 2 and 3 classes back to back in the studio. So I know it was hot.
Yeah.
But I figured I had to make the most of it, you know, while I was there. I'm like,
but
it was like a vitality right there.
Oh my gosh. Honestly, 2 studio classes is like, to me, more than a vitality, especially if you go to a vitality that doesn't have like the right heat and humidity.
Yeah.
Yeah, the studio, oh my gosh, is just absolutely intense,
it is.
But amazing, and definitely an experience everyone has to have.
You have to have it, but I would suggest like at least prepping a little, or go outside in the summer if you live in the South like I do. Something just to kind of, because it'll kind of take your breath away.
Yeah.
If you're the first class in the morning, though, they've just turned the heat on, so you kind of heat up with the room. I mean, it is warm when you walk in, but if you take an afternoon class, you walk in and it's been heated all day. There's a big difference. I would definitely say train for the heat.
Yeah, that is probably the hardest part about it. You know, I think sometimes people think like endurance or being able to keep up with the reps when there's a bunch of people in the room with you and stuff, and it is like the heat and humidity.
I promise you,
you through the moves, but
yeah, I promise you, the music and the heat, you don't even know there are other people in the room with you. You're like, I don't care what I look like. Let me just survive this.
Yep, yeah, exactly. Gosh, it's so funny thinking about like worrying about your outfit, and then you're like,
and then you
live.
right. You're like, oh my God, where's my water? Like I learned when I took a class the last day I was in New York. The last class I took, I like drenched the hand towel in the water fountain before I went in. I had to put it on my neck. But it was like, again, back-to-back classes.
Wow, that's very Tam warrior of you. What would be your advice to someone who's new to the method or the Tamily?
My biggest piece of advice is connect to the Tamily if you are not already. If you're new and starting out, the support is huge, because there will be times where you're like, you know, and you just kind of either are feeling discouraged. And this is a group of women and men. I mean, you know, there are men in it, but mostly women. It's a group of women that are, you know, intelligent. They are here for the right reasons, you know, and they support one another. You know, women can be so competitive, you know, against one another and trying to one up. And I have never experienced that. It's always been nothing but support. And, you know, like even things, if I make a comment about a particular move, somebody might message me and be like, well, try this or try, you know, it's unlike anything I've ever been a part of or experienced. And so if you're new to the method, I would say definitely get hooked up with the hashtags on Instagram, start following people, ask questions. If you have questions about, don't let it intimidate you, because what you see on Instagram, a lot of a lot of a lot of us are doing attain, a lot of us go back and forth or do different things, and the people that most of us have been doing it for a while, and so that can be intimidating. And Erin, that's another person that inspires me, Erin Core Fitness. She made a post a couple weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, about the realness, and you edit your post, you pick this part to this part, and you don't see the part where I'm face planting in the or when I'm trying the headstand and I almost take out the windows in the room, so that stuff happens too. So you have to remember that usually on what you see on Instagram is our best foot forward, and part of that, I struggled with the same thing as Erin, is like, okay, is this a real true version of what my workout looks like? And for the most part it is, but it's also one of those things that I feel like I'm not an ad. I'm like a spokesperson for the method. And if I'm showing sloppy and all of this and not my best effort, then I don't really reflect on her and her method the way that I feel that I should. So I it's like a mixture of both. I feel there's realness there, but it's also I put a lot of effort into the workout, into the thing, and I want other people to see what its potential is.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's a good balance of like realness in the Tamily, but we also post the things that like we're proud of and make us feel good. Like, I mean, it takes a long time of tamming online until you don't care what you look like on the internet. Like, it's okay to like post the ones that you feel the best about. But especially people should know, like, we're all real people that really struggle. We really fall over when there's crazy moves, and like it's not easy for anyone.
Right. And there was the teacup challenge several years ago, and like falling on my face. And but again, that's it. Not all moves are like that. So if you're new and you see, people face planting, it's not all like that. But so just, my advice for new people is that a lot of us that are posting have done it for a long time. And so if it isn't like that, that doesn't mean you're not going to get to like that. If you go back on my Instagram page and go way back to the beginning, I mean, it was not, it was just basic. It was beginner. It was doing the moves, and it takes courage to post that first time. And just because you don't post doesn't mean you're not a part of the Tamily. And I think that's another thing that I feel like new people need to understand, is you might not have the confidence, like you said, or, to put yourself out there on the internet for everyone to see. That's a vulnerable place to be. And self-confidence wise, you have to, but I think the method helps with that. I think you'll get there. I think that you may start out, stalking like I did, and then put it up there, but you're only going to get love from the Tamily. It doesn't matter what you think it looks like. You're gonna get encouragement and love from us.
Well, a couple people have asked, like, what's the best way to get your questions answered quickly, and what's the best way to connect with the Tamily? What would you say to those questions?
I would say to follow people that inspire you, people that, and you'll kind of notice, like, as you follow people, and if you ask questions under their posts, generally they'll reply back. And if they, and it's almost like fishing. I would say, when she did that Tamily Friend Challenge, I feel like that was a great way for people to the people that were posting #Tamily friend, you knew they were in it for that. And so I think Miriam was one of the first ones. She would answer questions for me. Like, I would just post underneath her thing and she would answer questions, and then people would comment on my post. I think messaging people directly, you can kind of tell when you're stalking the Tamily, who is actively responding and things like that. I have people reach out to me on in the messenger all the time, and they'll ask, do you have a particular diet? Are your results Tracey only? And I'm real honest when I answer. So I think that would be how, and also utilize the online studio. I've messaged them several times. So if you have a particular question about a workout, like either the metamorphosis or your centric, or if you're having difficulty with streaming in a particular level, reach out. They're extremely helpful. And, you know, I've reached out to them several times, especially early on in the beginning, to get their advice on different things.
Yeah, that's a great question, definitely.
Yeah.
What challenges have you faced in doing the method?
Mm. Sometimes space is a challenge, and time, especially with streaming. The streaming, you know, intermediate and advanced are an hour or sometimes longer. So for me, sometimes the time is a factor, and um, so, and again, space. A lot of the moves in attain and intermediate require, and I've got like, I'm not tall, but I've got really long arms and legs, and I'm excited for our new house because I have a new space in there, which is a little bit, I have a little bit more room. So I used to, like, I would hit the dresser behind me. And in my old videos, there was this big white dresser back there. And I would sometimes kick it or whatever. So space, and it's not that you can't. I have a 6x6 mat. It's just that when I'm in them, if you know, a lot of the moves roll and move. I think sometimes I would get in my own head too. That was part of, I would look at a preview of that week's class and I would be like, ooh, I can't do that. I'm going to go to intermediate. And she actually did a lecture on one of the classes that was like, you just need to jump in. And she kind of compared it to learning a new dance. You know, each week you learn a new conversation, and that really struck a chord with me, in that, you know, as a teacher myself, I don't expect my students to get it the first day I teach it. It's this gradual release of responsibility. We call it, I do it, you watch, then we do it together, and then you do it on your own. And it's kind of that first day when the new class comes out, you're kind of watching her, you're kind of going along with it. And yes, you know, sometimes you get it really quickly, but other times it takes you to the end of the week. But then when you finally get it, you feel that much more accomplished. So I think getting out of my own head with some of that is probably one of the biggest challenges. It's like, gosh, this one looks hard. Just push play. That's what I would just push play.
Yep.
When I would just push play.
Yeah, you're totally right. And it's so funny, even after doing the method for years, there are moves I see that I'm like, I can't do that. Can't. And then I do it. Yeah. And in like a day or two, it's actually not hard at all. Like, I think it's so unbelievable that, like, we do this method, we go through it every single week, we have that whole thing, and we still have that initial response. Like, I can't wait till the day I see her do something crazy, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna be a piece of cake.
Exactly. And the plank push-up ones, every time they're in there, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. And then I get to that part, and I just go right through, and I'm like, why did I doubt that? But it's that mental hang up for me. That's probably the toughest.
Absolutely. That's definitely the toughest. Your body can do much more than you believe. What's another thing that you have learned from Tracey?
Well, the biggest is probably, you know, showing up for yourself every day, no matter what. Probably the other biggest thing for Tracey is owning your own journey. You know, everybody's in a different place, and the conversation that you have with yourself each week is so important because you learn new things about yourself. You know, making time, carving out time for you. You know, they always say, you know, when the oxygen, put the mask on yourself first before you can take care of anybody else. And I've really learned that from her method. And I've learned that you can't separate your physical self from your mental self. If you're not feeling well physically, then your emotional self is going to suffer. If you're emotionally not feeling well, then your physical health is going to suffer. And so really just taking care of you is as a priority. That was never a priority for me. Everyone else was a priority. And I think not necessarily as women, but maybe it's a Southern thing, you know, you feel selfish, you know, putting yourself first and things like that. And I think that was a big thing for me, is just feeling like I needed I can't do this for myself because other people need me more, or, things like that. But I'm a better person now that I do. So I think that's one of the biggest things as well, which kind of goes along with the other one. But I've learned so much from her, even down to just muscular structure things and how that works. So.
Right. Absolutely. So we have another question in the chat from Nicole. She said she thinks TAM confidence is a real thing. What's something that you do now that you contribute to the years of consistency with the method?
Like as far as confidence, do you think? Is that what she means? Like, what do I feel confident in? It sounds silly, but like I will just walk into my closet and pick anything and walk out of the house in it. Whereas years ago, I would be like, oh my gosh, no, that's got to cover this, or that has to. So it's kind of a physical thing, but it's also a mental thing in that I don't even think about that anymore. You know what I mean? It's like, so that's probably one of the biggest areas of confidence. And the other is just saying what I think and how I feel, and not being worried about what other people have to say about it. That kind of confidence has grown through it. And I think a lot of that has to do with, when you put yourself out there online, you have to have that kind of confidence that you don't care what other people are going to say. And so I've found that even in working with colleagues and things like that, I have the confidence to speak up for myself and to say, no, I'm not comfortable, with that, or I thank you, I hear you, but I'd prefer to do it this way. Yeah. It's just kind of a whole self-confidence thing. I think when you feel good in your skin, that comes out everywhere else.
Yeah, honestly, like the power that exists in feeling comfortable with yourself is unbelievable. Like, and to your point, feeling comfortable wearing something, feeling comfortable saying what you think, it's so important. And I just don't think people really realize a lot of the time how that can come from exercise.
Absolutely. It's, again, like you said earlier, when you try to explain it to people, until you've done it, you just can't understand. You just don't get it.
Yeah. They're like, this is crazy.
This crazy group of people.
Do you have any tips for doing the method while traveling, especially being that you're in a hybrid living situation?
Absolutely. Well, and I travel, my daughter dances also now. And so we travel a lot during the dance season. And so the biggest thing for me is, my biggest piece of advice is, don't care what other people in the hotel gyms think. Just let it go, because they are going to look at you and they're going to give you strange looks. Own your space and be done with it. And if it bothers you that badly, put your headphones in and find a corner where you don't have to see them looking at you. So that took me a while to get to that point. When I would travel, I would be crammed in the hotel bathroom or in the hallway. Sometimes I'd do it right out in the hallway of the door. I get yourself a set of travel weights. That way I don't have to pack up my room. So I have like a little bag. It's actually one of those things that goes under the airplane seats. It has wheels and it's tiny. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it's perfect because that stuff gets heavy. So you can just wheel it down to the gym and into the.
Good idea.
And it also will hook on the top of your regular suitcase if you so need it to. But so I have. And I don't travel with 5-pound hand weights. So if she uses 5 pounds that week, I just do the 3, or they may have them in the gym. But I always travel with my ankle weight, or I have a second set of ankle weights. And they just stay in the travel bag. The 3-pound hand weights and the ankle weights and knee pads. Knee pads for travel, because you don't know what the floor is going to be like.
Floors are horrible.
And hotel gym floors are hard.
Yeah, and freezing.
Yes. That's wear sweatshirt. They don't, or like shower or get really hot first. So
yeah, or like find the thermostat and break the lock on it, or whatever you have to do.
Whatever you have to do, and be okay with dropping to beginner. If you're at attain and intermediate and you travel, sometimes the space limits you to beginner, and just be okay with that. To me, moving was better than nothing.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And I love your tip about that little rolling bag. I have to get one of those.
I'll post it when I get home. I'll post a picture of it.
Okay, excellent.
I used my Bed Bath and Beyond coupon, and so I ended up getting it for like $75 or $80.
Oh, wow.
It was worth every penny though, because that stuff's heavy.
Definitely, definitely. I cannot think about all the times I've been lugging those weights through airports.
Yeah, and they're right there. Yep. So you can just stick them in the thing.
Why is your workout important to you?
It's that me time. It's, it keeps me sane. Again, I'm a nicer person. My family will tell you I'm a nicer person. Not that I'm not nice, but it's important to me. Again, I used to not think that my health was as important, but I, as a believer, I believe that I've been given this vessel, and I have to take care of it if I'm going to be able to do, what I'm called to do. Like, if I don't have the energy as a teacher, I work with 7-year-olds, I have to have the energy. I have to be able to get on the floor and get up off the floor. And when I take care of my body physically, I'm capable of continuing to do those things. Like, one of the things, I was reading this article, and it was funny because Tracey had talked about it. It was talking about elderly and life expectancy. And she had talked about, something about being able to get up out of a chair or off the floor, and can you raise your arms, over your head, and those types of things that I didn't think about. And so I started paying attention to people that I knew that had difficulty getting up out of a chair, that weren't much older than I am. And so I really started to pay attention to those things. And so, as that, you asked what else have I learned from Tracey, is that I want to age well. I will never look like her, because I won't ever be her, petite size, but I can be the best version of me, and I can age as gracefully as possible by taking care of myself.
Yeah. It's interesting because now, I mean, I can't imagine like not moving almost every day for the rest of my life. And I think about just the different, like, stiffness, or you sleep weird or something. And I think, what if I did not exercise like this? Like, how much worse would it be? And then year after year after year, just aging without movement.
Yeah. Well, and you even think, a lot of time elderly people, a lot of things that, give them trouble, they have a fall. And it's because your center of gravity and your core muscles are weakened, and you lose your balance easily. And so just little things like walking securely, that's why it's important. It's important mentally, but it's also important for me. I want to, if I live to be, my grandfather, he just passed away, and he was over 100, and he was always walking. I want to be like that. I don't want to have to be stuck somewhere in a bed, just being mentally there, but physically trapped.
Yeah. And, it's another thing that Tracey says, like, you don't have to just think, well, these are my genes, all my relatives have had illnesses or issues. Like, you can control it.
100%. I have diabetes that runs in my family. And so genetically I'm predisposed for that. And I'm like, nope, not going to be me. I'm going to eat well 80% of the time. Right. But I'm going to do my part in the exercise. So, and that's where my journey with exercise began, is I was determined I wasn't going to end up with diabetes, like some of the other women in my family. And so I tried running, and I tried all of these things, and I hated it. And I was like, I'm not going to stick with it if I don't love it. And so that's a big motivating factor for me as well, is, outsmarting my own genetic predisposition by taking care of myself.
Absolutely. So do you do Attain, Fundamental? What's your routine around that?
I don't want to say I'm all over the place, because, you got to pick your lane. But I'm usually between intermediate and Attain. I sometimes tease that I'm that magical unicorn class that every once in a while pops in, the intermediate advanced. So if I had to say, where am I really, I'm probably there. I mentally love the challenge of Attain, but there are some weeks where by day 3, I don't feel like I'm performing it, and I feel like I'm kind of not cheating my way through it, but I don't feel like I'm getting out of it what I am supposed to be getting out of it. And so I'll go back to intermediate. Usually intermediate, I can do the moves, and and the reps and things like that. So again, she compares it to that foreign language. And so, as a teacher, I kind of always go back to that teacher analogy, in that I may have a student who has the IQ and the intellectual capability of understanding the attain class, but isn't quite ready for it yet. You see it with readers. I have kids that can talk to me at a level, vocabulary wise and intellectually, but yet their reading mind can't quite read that level of book.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of, and that's kind of what I
Yeah.
feel ties in with the method. Like, oh yeah, I can, but physically I just can't do it yet. And so you continue to have to work. And again, and that's where I feel like Tracey's there supporting us each week with the breakdowns and things like that. And so you kind of, I wouldn't sit in a AP calculus class right now, I'd be lost. But if it was what my goal was, then I would want to go back and so I feel it's important to move through the levels, but I do sometimes go back and forth. I'm mostly an intermediate or advanced or attain. But here recently with the limited space in the camper, if I'm having to do that at the beginning all the way. But again, for me, it's better than nothing. So.
Yeah, and none of them are easy. Like
No.
whenever I think, I'm going to give myself a break, then I'm like, who is this beginner for?
Right.
Doesn't feel beginner.
Absolutely. Well, and I'll always, even if you're kind of in that in-between level, go ahead and do attain arms, because, they are more of a mental challenge, tracking her and things like that. So a lot of times if I don't have the space, I'll go ahead and do the attain arms and then maybe do the other legs.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Do you do dance cardio?
Mm-hmm. I did in the beginning when I did the metamorphosis. I actually like the dance cardio, except that I will say, having done it on the floors in the studio, it's hard to come back after that, because of the way that they bounce. So if I do dance cardio, I do the low impact. Mm-hmm. And I usually only do it a couple days a week, and it's if I've been naughty and not eating well. But it's really important, I feel, especially ab-centric people, in the beginning, if you do have weight to lose, to try to put in at least, even if you can't do the full 30, do 50. And that's another point for newbies. Mm-hmm. 30 minutes of dance cardio is like a daunting task when you're new. What my advice for that would be is start and say you're going to do the first 5 minutes. And if you still feel like going after that, then stop. But then the next time you do it, go to 8 minutes. Yeah. And then after 8 minutes, stop at the 10. And then it kind of, there are like natural breaks in it sometimes, like it'll transition to a new set of moves. So just make it to that next one each time. That would don't not do it because you can't do it all the way through.
Yeah, that is excellent advice.
Because that's how I had to start, even with metamorphosis. I do like the first 6 minutes. And I mean, I was a dancer, but I mean, it's bouncy dancing, it was not just like, learning a combo. So that's my advice for dance cardio. And even if you are a longtime streamer and you're wanting to add the cardio component, but 30 minutes of that is a lot. Yes. Don't not do it just because of that. And the shoes are key. Yeah. I use the Hoka One Arahi or whatever, and huge difference.
Yeah, especially if you don't have the floors, you have to have the right.
That's my next goal.
Yeah, and even if you have to do it in segments, and honestly, I think I step touched the whole time of the 90 days of metamorphosis.
Yeah,
wait still, so
you will still, your heart rate's going so fast, but yeah, that'd be probably that's how I feel about dance cardio. I love it, but I can't usually complete the whole 30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot.
It is.
So I think I know the answer to this question, but have you converted anyone to being a devoted Tamar?
A devoted Tamar? Not yet. The jury's still out on that. My sister has just started her journey. I think she's on like day 22 of metamorphosis. So I'm excited about that. you know what? That's the crazy thing about the Tamily. So many people that follow you and watch and ask, you don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they have become, maybe I inspire, or, who knows? But as far as in my physical world, nah, just the sister. And I've gotten a lot of people to try it with me, but they don't typically stick with it. It is a commitment. It sounds, when you hear it, you're like, yes. And then if you don't get in and fully commit, you're probably not going to see the same results that everyone else does.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
It's like telling the doctor, yeah, I'm eating green beans, but you're also eating a pint of ice cream every,
right.
Like if you're not really doing it, you're not gonna,
yeah. The consistency, it's key.
That's a Tracey quote right there. That is like to live by. Consistency is key.
Absolutely. So what do your friends and other family think of the method?
Even though they're like not about trying it, they're really supportive. I have some friends that when I got to go to New York were like, oh my God, they were probably more excited for me than I was. And then I had a group of friends that went to New York before I got to go, and they were only there for 2 days. And so it was like a whirlwind trip, and they went out of their way to go to the 59th Street studio and FaceTime me from inside the studio.
Oh my God.
They were like, look where we are. And then they brought me back a t-shirt. So, yeah, so they're very supportive. And then, we'll go on vacation with friends and they're like, have you done your workout yet? So it's, what day are you on today?
Yeah.
So they're really supportive. My family, on vacation, I'll, go find a spot to do it. I try to do it early in the morning to, I don't want to say get it out of the way, but I know I'll feel better if I do. I won't have it looming in the back, like, just that antsy feeling of moving and getting it done. So,
so how do you fit your workout in your life? What is your routine around it?
It's actually really sporadic. I typically during the school year, it's after school. It's usually first thing when I get home. My kids are older now. I have a 17-year-old and a almost 14-year-old, so they kind of take care of themselves. And so usually I would pick my son up from middle school and head home, and then I would go immediately. I'd turn the heater on and then go right in and get it done. Maybe start dinner and do that way. On the weekends, it's always in the morning. I would prefer to do it in the morning. And in the summer, it's always, I'll get up, have my coffee, and while the room is heating up, and then go in. But as far as elementary school for us starts I have to be there at like 7:20, 7:30, and I am not a morning person. I tried in the beginning. I tried getting up at like 5. No, it's not for me. Yeah. So afternoon is better.
It is definitely tough. So we know that you're a teacher, but tell us a little bit about that and also where you live.
Oh, okay. Well, I live in South Carolina. And I think you just recently moved, or now you might be moving again, but to our fabulous state, our hot and humid state. If you live here, you don't need a heater or humidity in the summer. You can just crack a window.
Yeah.
And you got studio heat right here. But I live in a little town off of Lake Murray, right outside of Columbia. So real small town, Chapin, probably nobody's ever heard of it. And I teach 2nd grade. This is my 18th year teaching.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I love it. I love every minute of it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was actually, this has been one of the toughest years. We moved, we weren't living in our home. We were kind of all bouncing all over the place. And then I didn't get to finish with my kids. And that was really sad. We had like this little end of the year parade for them, and they came by and they were just crying, and I was crying. I couldn't hug them. And, so that was sad, but I love what I do.
It's wonderful.
And I think the method has helped with it because, we sing and we dance and we move, and, it keeps you energized to keep up with 7 and 8-year-olds all day long.
Imagine.
Like herding cats.
What is the meaning of your Instagram handle?
Uh, I get asked that all the time, actually. I have two, and they're kind of similar. It's Sunshine Fit, and my real Instagram is Be the Sunshine,
Okay.
and it looks like Beth E Sunshine, but it's actually Be the Sunshine. And so I tried to kind of combine that for this one. My daughter, when she was really little, she was dancing on stage, and she just gets nervous or whatever, and so I just yelled out, "Be the sunshine!" And it kind of stuck, and so that's kind of like our little thing, in a world where there's so much darkness and so much just craziness going on. It's important to be the light. And so that's where that came from. And so I kind of carried it over to this account, Sunshine, because I said, this workout is not just for me. It's, again, you inspire other people. You say, look, you can do it too. Just to be a light in a dark place.
Yeah, that was extremely inspirational. I was not necessarily expecting that.
Right. I know. It doesn't seem like that at all. But yeah, the sunshine part comes from her. And so again, she inspires me.
That's wonderful. Can you remember when you first posted to Instagram as part of the Tamily and what that post was?
I do. It was August 1st of, what are we, 2018 maybe? Was that it? It was the Tamily. It was day one of the Tamily Friend Challenge, and I couldn't believe that I hit post. And this was prior to me even knowing that there was an editing function. So I think you can even see me like reach up and push the button to start it. I was wearing a bright yellow sports bra, and I remember what's funny about that first post is not like maybe a month later I wore that same top again, and it was loose, and it was just a confirmation of how everything was like just tightening or whatever. But yeah, that was it. It was beginner in my kids' playroom, and I remember my son was playing Xbox right over to the side, like, and I didn't know how to do the mute function either, and so like I had to keep filming because he's like, "What are you doing?"
Oh my!
So yes, that was my first post. But again, hey, if you're a newbie, just do it. Just hit it and go. Don't worry about it.
Definitely.
And if you're super scared like I was, create a whole separate account.
Yeah, and make it private. Like,
and don't name it something similar to your other, because see, that was my mistake. That's how my friends kept finding me, is because it was so similar to my other handle, and they were like, "Wait, I know who that is."
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah. Make it totally different.
We have been talking for almost an hour already.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been so much fun getting to know you a little bit, Beth.
Yeah, me too.
So before we end our interview for today, I just want to check if there's any other questions in the chat. Of course, anyone can type one in now if you have another question for Beth. But is there anything else that you would like to say to the Tamily while you have this audience?
Oh my gosh. I think I probably have already said most of it. Just again, make time for yourself. Don't feel guilty about that. It's important. And when you're having those lulls, because you'll have the high of like when you first start, and then you'll kind of ebb and flow. Find somebody in the Tamily to connect with that's your person or your people. And if you don't have one, just don't be afraid to reach out. There are so many wonderful, wonderful women here that would love to give you an encouraging word, things like that. So you're not in it alone. Don't be scared. I know it looks intimidating, but you got to start somewhere. And if you want to feel better about yourself, go all the way back to my very first post and check it out. It's like just a leg out to the side and just lifting it. It's like a hydrant, something crazy. So again, it didn't always look the way that it does now. So, so that would be what I would want to say to everyone watching.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Beth. It's been
thank you.
interviewing you for the 101st interview with Tamily.
Yay, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's such an honor.
Well, we are glad to add you to our list of Ask Tamily stars, and we keep on adding every single week forever and ever. So this interview will be in a post on Ask Tamily, which you can watch on IGTV, and then we'll also get it onto YouTube in a few days.
Oh, yay.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Beth.
Bye.
Thanks, Tamily.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.